Welcome to the other side of life. I'm Will, and today we're going to be talking about unforgiveness and resentments. Unforgiveness and holding on to resentments probably was the cause of my depression, I'd say 75 to 80% of the time. If I got dumped by a girlfriend, depending on the situation, I would hold on to that resentment for a long time, because that, going back to our emotional regulation, we go back to the core of what's going on, and it's just, you get dumped, but the core feeling is, that pain, that frustration that I'm not good enough. I battled that a lot in my life, that I wasn't good enough. That's why I tried so hard to be the best at whatever I was trying to do. Now I've heard it said that resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. And that's exactly what happened. In some of the situations that I went through in my life, whether it was something that my parents had done or being bullied in school, the bullying I went through in junior high was just relentless. And I would hold on to that stuff, and I'd ruminate about it, and it would fuel depression. And then at the same time, there was a lot of unforgiveness when it came to situations with my father, like I discussed in a couple episodes prior, or some stuff with my mother, or, you hold on to these things and I can't let it go. Now this hill back here is kind of like life, all right? Life is full of challenges every day. We got all sorts of things going on, whether it's with our jobs or our children or in relationships, or just some days just trying to get up in the morning. And when we're holding on to resentments, drinking our poison, because we're thinking about this other person and what they did to us, unforgiveness to me is like stones. Now, some of them can be a little smoother and smaller. It could be like being bullied in school, all the name calling, and you just can't stand that person, and even though you're justified, and you may be justified in that unforgiveness, you hold on to it, and it just makes you feel sick. Now, some of the stones can be more jagged. So this is one that really kind of cuts you up, like getting dumped, or seeing your parents go through divorce or whatever. That can be jagged. Can hurt. Some of them can be small, like one of your siblings breaking one of your toys when you were little. And then some of them can be darn right massive, like a stepfather that abuses your mother and bullies your brother and sister, and you just want to punch him in the face repeatedly, but you can't. Should have, but didn't. And you hold on to that anger, and you hold on to that unforgiveness. And what I found over time is that unforgiveness, the only thing it ever did was just make me sick. As justified as I felt in my anger towards my stepfather, that resentment over time twisted me, and as funny as it is, I started acting in some ways a lot like him with my anger and lashing out the way that I was. I think it's funny that the thing we focused on most, we become. So, all I want to do today is just a little demonstration. I got this backpack of my anger and unforgiveness. And we're going to put this big boy in there. And all we got to do is climb up this hill of life. We're just going to carry this unforgiveness and resentments and go through life. And sometimes the unforgiveness, maybe we need to ask forgiveness for something. And so, but that's for another episode. We'll talk about how that guilt and shame affects us. If we're wanting to forgive other people, we always have to remember that we need to ask forgiveness for the things that we did. So we're just going to see how far I can make it up this hill with my bag of resentments and unforgiveness. I can do this. Just going up the hill of life with all my resentments and my unforgiveness. This was much easier in theory. Whew. Okay, now part of the reason I'm having a hard time is I am out of shape. I'm working on it. But I'll tell you what, thinking about this demonstration was much easier thinking about it than actually doing it. But I think you get the point. Like, this is really heavy. And I know some things to forgive, they're not easy, but some of the things I had to forgive, it wasn't for the other person, all right? It was for me, to help me let go of stuff, because the only thing it was doing was weighing down my life and slowing down my walk through life. It's hard enough trying to navigate through life, dealing with, jobs, getting a job, losing a job, or having a relationship, or even trying to take care of your kids. When you're just frustrated with life and you can't let go and you battle with that unforgiveness, it's just fueling that depression over time. Over time, that frustration, it just grew in me. And not only did I become a lot like my stepfather, I medicated the way he did, and then the depression that I went through led me to want to give up on life. You know, and it's my choice how long I choose to hold on to that unforgiveness. And I encourage doing, writing about it. I think the 12 steps of recovery have a wonderful way of dealing with resentments and dealing with unforgiveness. All right, they write it down, and they do a 4th step. All right, and so they write it down, everything that was done to them, things that they did, how it affected them, and then they share it with someone else. And I remember the first time I did a 5th step, I just felt so free. That's where you share it with your sponsor, what happened to you in your life, and you just talk about these issues. And some of them were secrets that I had kept for a long time. And just that feeling of someone knowing, and letting it go and saying, I'm done with this stuff, that freedom is amazing. So obviously with an episode like this, there's going to be some homework. So I want you to make a list of people that have harmed you, what happened to you, how it made you feel. Start with the easy ones, work your way to the harder ones. If you start to experience some triggers and go through any type of anxiety or panic attacks, go to your distraction therapy list. Use that cold water technique. You're definitely going to be having to do some mindfulness because you might have forgot about a few things. Don't forget to use radical acceptance. All right, and then opposite action when you want to respond. This, maybe a memory is too hard to deal with, and you might want to, do something. You might want to cut or something like that. Don't do that. All right, go for a jog, go for a walk, watch a funny movie, and then go back to your list. Because the quicker we can let go of these resentments and unforgiveness, the quicker we can start healing. And it's up to us how long we hold on to our resentments and unforgiveness. Some of it we can just toss away. I'm Will, and I'll see you next time on the other side of life.